My son stole $113,000 from me while I was sleeping. I'm Vincent Anderson, and I've been running Anderson's Auto Repair in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn for 40 years. My son Derek and his wife Stephanie thought they were saving the family business from a failing old man. They showed up at 3:17 a.m. on a Tuesday morning with a moving truck and cleared out everything. My tools, my cash, even my hydraulic lift. What they didn't know was that this failing mechanic had $2.1 million in the bank and connections they never imagined. Instead of calling the police immediately, I made one phone call to my friend Jimmy at the union. Then I waited for Saturday night. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from, especially if you've ever been underestimated because of how you look or what you do for a living. Here's how I made sure the entire neighborhood witnessed their downfall. Let me back up 2 years to when this all started. Derek had just gotten his marketing degree and landed a job at some digital agency in Manhattan. Suddenly, his old man's auto shop wasn't good enough anymore. "Dad, you need to modernize," he'd say every Sunday dinner. "Cash only? That's suspicious. Nobody operates like that anymore." Stephanie would nod along, taking photos of my work clothes for her Instagram stories, not to celebrate me, to mock me. Caption: "Boomer business model needs an intervention. Hashtag old school problems." They'd roll their eyes when I'd count out my daily earnings by hand. $2,300 on Tuesday, $1,850 on Wednesday. Derek would whisper to Stephanie, "See, he's hoarding cash like he doesn't trust banks." What they saw, an old man in Dickies coveralls driving a beat-up 2008 Ford pickup with 240,000 miles on it, living in the apartment above my shop, eating at the same corner deli for lunch every day, wearing the same citizen watch my wife Maria gave me 20 years ago. What they didn't see, the business ledger I'd been keeping since 1984. The stack of city contracts in my filing cabinet. The union meetings where I was always asked for advice. "Dad, your customers are all old-timers," Derek would say. "What happens when they die? You need online marketing, digital payments, a website." I'd just nod and ask him to pass the meatballs. Stephanie posted constantly about their burden of having an outdated father-in-law who refuses to adapt. Her followers ate it up. Poor young couple dealing with stubborn elder. So relatable. The breaking point came last Christmas. Derek pulled me aside after dinner. "Dad, Stephanie and I have been talking. We're worried about you." "Worried about what?" "Your business is failing. You're sitting on cash that should be invested. You're living like it's 1950. I kept my voice calm. "The business pays my bills." "Barely. Dad, we love you, but you're not thinking clearly about money anymore." Stephanie joined us. "Vincent, we want to help. Let us modernize the shop, set up proper accounting, maybe find you a nice retirement community." "I'm not retiring." "You should consider it," Derek said, "before you lose everything." That's when I knew. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about their inheritance. See, Maria and I had been careful with money our whole marriage. We lived below our means, saved everything we could. When she passed 3 years ago, I promised her I'd keep the shop running and take care of the family. But Derek and Stephanie saw an old man wasting away in coveralls, hoarding cash, missing opportunities. They started dropping hints about financial guardianship and intervention for his own good. The hints became suggestions. The suggestions became pressure. "Dad, just let us help organize your finances." "Vincent, we found this great financial planner. Maybe we should have someone look at your books." I'd deflect with stories about my customers. Mrs. Rodriguez, whose Honda I'd been maintaining for 15 years. Tony from the pizza shop, who trusted me with his delivery van. Captain Brown from the precinct, whose squad cars I serviced. "Those relationships don't mean anything in today's economy," Derek would say. But here's what Derek never understood. In Brooklyn, relationships mean everything. Every week, Jimmy Wilson from Union Local 371 would stop by for coffee. Not just social calls, business calls. "Vinny, we got the new city contract," he'd say quietly. "Maintenance for all police vehicles in the borough. They want Anderson's Auto to handle it." Or, "The taxi union's looking for exclusive service deals. You interested?" Derek saw Jimmy as just another old-timer talking shop. He never stayed long enough to hear the real conversations. Meanwhile, Stephanie's Instagram following grew. She positioned herself as a young woman navigating elder care challenges. Her audience loved the drama. "Update on the father-in-law situation," she'd post. "Still refusing help. Worried he's heading for financial ruin but too proud to admit it." Comments would pour in, "Stay strong, girl. Old people can be so stubborn. Maybe time for tough love. Derek would show me these posts. See, Dad? People understand our position. What people didn't understand was the full picture. The apartment above my shop? I owned the building. Bought it in 1991 for $60,000. Now worth $750,000. The beat-up truck? Paid in full. Insurance? Minimal. Maintenance? I did myself. The simple lifestyle? Choice, not necessity. But Derek and Stephanie saw poverty where there was strategy. Failure where there was success. The final straw came 6 weeks ago. Derek cornered me after I deposited the day's earnings. Dad, I followed you to the bank. You deposited $2,000 in cash. From one day. Good day. That's not sustainable. You're not saving for retirement. You're not investing. You're just hoarding. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. He genuinely believed he was helping. Derek, the business is fine. No, Dad, it's not. And Stephanie and I can't watch you destroy your future. That's when I realized they'd already made their decision. They were going to save me whether I wanted saving or not. But they had no idea what they were really dealing with. Let me tell you exactly what they took that Tuesday morning. I woke up at 6:45 a.m. to silence. Complete silence. In 40 years, my shop had never been that quiet. I walked downstairs and found empty space where my life's work used to be. The Snap-on toolbox I'd been building since 1984? Gone. Red metal, 7 drawers, organized exactly how I liked it. Replacement value? $31,000. The Mac Tools diagnostic computer that could read any car made after 1996? Gone. $8,000. My Hunter wheel alignment machine? Gone. $22,000. The Benpack 2-post hydraulic lift that could handle everything from smart cars to delivery trucks? Gone. $18,000. But the real gut punch was my cash drawer. I kept operating money there, enough to handle parts orders, emergency repairs, and daily expenses without running to the bank constantly. They'd cleaned it out completely. $31,000 in cash. Gone. I stood in that empty shop calculating the damage. $113,000 in tools, equipment, and cash, stolen by my own son while I slept. But this wasn't just about money. Every tool had a story. The torque wrench I'd bought with my first paycheck as a shop owner. The creeper that had rolled under 10,000 cars. The impact gun that had loosened more bolts than I could count. This was my identity, my reputation, my way of life. Without those tools, I couldn't fix cars. Without fixing cars, I couldn't pay bills. Without paying bills, I'd lose the building, lose everything Maria and I had worked for. That's what Derek wanted me to think. He'd left a note on my workbench. Dad, we had to do this. You'll thank us later. The tools are safe. The money is invested. Call us when you're ready to talk about your future. My future. According to them, that meant selling the building, liquidating everything, and moving into some retirement community where they could manage my money properly. But here's what Derek didn't know about my future. My phone rang. Jimmy Wilson from the union. Vinny, you there? I've been calling the shop line. I'm here, Jimmy. Good. Listen, the city contract came through. Police department wants to formalize the exclusive maintenance deal. We're talking $125,000 annually, guaranteed 5 years. $625,000 in guaranteed work. Also, Jimmy continued, the taxi union voted. They want Anderson's Auto as their official service center. $85,000 monthly minimum. Over $1 million annually in union contracts alone. Jimmy, I need to tell you something. I explained what Derek and Stephanie had done. The theft, the note. Their plan to save me. Long pause. Vinny, they stole your tools? Everything. Your cash? Everything. Another pause. They have no idea who they're messing with, do they? None. What do you need? That's when I knew. This wasn't just theft. This was war. And Derek had just picked a fight with the wrong mechanic. Saturday night, the social club dinner. Can you make sure people know what happened? 350 members will be there, including Captain Brown, city councilman. Half the union leadership in Brooklyn. Perfect. Vinny, you want us to get your tools back now? No. Let them keep the tools for now. Saturday night, everyone's going to see what they really stole from. See, Derek and Stephanie thought they were rescuing a failing old man from financial ruin. They had no idea they'd just robbed a millionaire with connections they couldn't imagine. And Saturday night, the entire Italian-American community of Bensonhurst was going to find out what they'd done. But first, I needed to have a conversation with my son. Derek called that afternoon, confident, condescending, ready to explain why theft was actually love. Dad, are you calm now? I'm calm, Derek. Good. Because we need to talk about your situation. My situation? The hoarding, the denial. Dad, you're living like a crazy person. I'd set up my phone to record. Legal in New York with one-party consent. Everything Derek said was going on the record. You took my tools while I was sleeping. We secured your assets. There's a difference. You took $31,000 in cash. We invested it properly. Dad, cash sitting in a drawer isn't helping anyone. Stephanie chimed in from the background. Vincent, we're saving you from yourself. Where are my tools? Safe. In storage. Until we can figure out your future. My future? Derek's voice got sharper. Dad, you're 64 years old. You should be thinking about retirement, not buying more tools you don't need. I need those tools to work. You need to stop working. That's the point. This was the moment I understood everything. Derek wasn't worried about my business failing. He was worried about it succeeding without his control. Derek, bring my tools back. We can't do that. You stole $113,000 from me. We protected family assets from poor decision-making. Stephanie got on the phone. Vincent, you're hoarding cash like it's the Depression. That's not normal behavior. Normal behavior is stealing from your father? We didn't steal anything, Derek said. It's family money anyway. There it was. The truth. Derek believed he was entitled to everything I'd built. Family money? Dad, everything you have will come to us eventually. We're just managing it responsibly now. I kept my voice level. You think I'm incompetent. We think you're not thinking clearly about financial planning. Because I keep cash in my shop? Because you live like you're poor when you could be comfortable. I am comfortable. Driving a beat-up truck? Living above a garage? Dad, you're embarrassing yourself. That word hit different. Embarrassing. Not to me. To them. I embarrass you? Pause. Then Derek. Quieter. Dad, Stephanie's friends see your shop. They ask questions. What kind of questions? Why you live like that? Whether you need help. Whether we're taking care of you. So this was about appearances. Their appearances. And what do you tell them? We tell them we're handling it. By handling it, they meant stealing from me. Derek, I want my tools back by tomorrow. That's not happening. Then we have a problem. Dad, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You made it hard when you robbed me. We didn't rob you, Stephanie shouted. We're trying to help you before you lose everything. Lose everything to what? To bad decisions, to living in the past, to being stubborn about money. I let that hang in the air. Then, you'll see what family money really means. What's that supposed to mean? Saturday night, the social club dinner. Everyone's going to know what you did. Derek laughed. Dad, nobody cares about your old-timer friends. We'll see. You think Jimmy Wilson and those union guys scare us? We're trying to save you from depending on people like that. People like what? People stuck in the past. Dad, the world moved on from handshake deals and cash payments. The world moved on from family loyalty too, apparently. This is family loyalty, Derek's voice cracked. We're protecting your future. You stole my present. We secured your assets. You broke into my shop at 3 a.m. We used the key you gave us for emergencies. This wasn't an emergency. Your financial situation is an emergency. I'd heard enough. Derek, I'm going to hang up now. Dad, wait, let's meet tomorrow. We'll show you the investment accounts we set up. You'll see we did the right thing. The right thing for the family, for your future, for your legacy. My legacy? What you leave behind matters, Dad. We're making sure it's protected. Protected. From me, the man who'd built it. Derek, I'll see you Saturday night. We're not going to some old people dinner to listen to you complain. Oh, you'll be there. Why would we be there? Because 350 people are going to hear exactly what you did, and you're going to want to defend yourselves. Long pause. Dad, you're making a mistake. The mistake was trusting family. I hung up. 2 days later, Derek tried a different approach. He showed up at my shop with coffee and apologies. Dad, I think we got off on the wrong foot. But I wasn't interested in coffee anymore. I was interested in justice, and justice was coming Saturday night. Derek arrived Thursday morning with a peace offering. 2 coffees from the fancy place near his office, the kind that cost $6 each. Dad, can we start over? I was sitting at my empty workbench reading mail. Bills mostly, but also something Derek couldn't see clearly from where he stood. Start over? The phone call got heated. We both said things. He set the coffee down and glanced at the papers in front of me. A city invoice for $18,000. Police fleet maintenance March billing. Derek squinted at it. Dad, is that a bill? Payment notice. 18,000? Dad, you can't afford 18,000 right now? I folded the invoice and put it in my desk drawer. It's handled. How is it handled? They took your tools, your cash. I manage. Derek sat down, concerned. Paternal, almost. Like he was talking to a child. Dad, this is exactly what we were worried about. You're in over your head financially. My phone rang. Jimmy Wilson. Vinny, you got a minute? Sure, Jimmy. The big meeting's Saturday. You ready? Ready. Good. By the way, did you see the mayor's office called? They want to discuss expanding the city contract. I glanced at Derek, who was listening intently. We'll talk Saturday, Jimmy. Right. See you at the club. Oh, and Vinny, bring your membership card. We're doing something special for longtime members. I hung up. Derek was staring. Dad, what was that about? Union business. What kind of union business? I pulled out my wallet and showed him my local 371 membership card. Gold-plated. Member since 1984. Derek examined it. This is just a membership card. 40-year membership. So Jimmy takes care of longtime members. Derek wasn't getting it. To him, Jimmy was just another old guy in coveralls. The union was some outdated organization for blue-collar workers who couldn't adapt to modern business. Dad, union connections aren't going to pay your bills. I opened my desk drawer again, pulled out a handwritten note. Call mayor's office, RE contract renewal, urgent. Derek read it over my shoulder. Contract renewal for what? City work. What kind of city work? Fleet maintenance. Dad, you fix a few police cars. That's not a real contract. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. He had no idea what he was looking at. Derek, do you know how many police cars are in Brooklyn? I don't know. 100? Try again. 200? Over 800 patrol cars, plus motorcycles, plus detective vehicles, plus administrative fleet? Derek blinked. And you service all of them? Exclusively. That got his attention. How much does that pay? Enough. Dad, seriously, how much? I didn't answer. Let him wonder. Another paper on my desk caught his eye. A bank envelope with Chase business account visible in the corner. Dad, can I see your bank statement? No. I'm trying to help you budget. I don't need budget help. The $18,000 invoice says otherwise. I stood up and walked to my filing cabinet, pulled out a thick folder marked City Contracts Active. Derek watched me flip through documents. Pages and pages of official letterhead, dollar amounts visible but not clear from his angle. Dad, what is all that? Work orders. For the police cars? Police? Taxi unions? City maintenance department. How many work orders? I closed the folder. Saturday night. Everyone's going to understand exactly what kind of business I run. Derek was getting frustrated. Dad, just tell me, how much money are we talking about? We? The family business, your income. My income is fine. Fine enough to recover from losing $113,000 in tools and cash? I smiled for the first time since Tuesday. Derek, you have no idea what you've stepped into. What's that supposed to mean? Saturday night, 7:30 p.m., St. Anthony's Social Club. You'll find out exactly what family money looks like. Derek left confused, worried maybe, but still convinced he was dealing with a stubborn old man who didn't understand modern finance. He'd learn different Saturday night. Friday morning, Stephanie launched her social media offensive. I didn't use Instagram, but Mrs. Rodriguez from the corner store showed me on her phone. Stephanie had posted a long update about her difficult family situation. Update on my father-in-law situation, the post began. Sometimes loving someone means making hard choices they won't understand. We had to intervene in an unsafe financial situation. Prayers needed. The photo showed Derek looking concerned outside my shop. Caption, "When family won't accept help." Comments poured in immediately. "Stay strong, girl. Old people can be so stubborn about money. You're doing the right thing. Maybe time for professional help? Dementia makes people hoard cash." Mrs. Rodriguez was furious. "Vincent, she's telling people you're sick." But Stephanie wasn't done. Her next story showed Derek loading boxes into their car, securing important documents before they get lost. So stressful but necessary. Another story. PSA. Elder financial abuse includes letting loved ones make dangerous money decisions. Sometimes intervention is the only option. Within hours, her story had spread through neighborhood social media groups. Local family dealing with elder care crisis. Daughter-in-law shares struggles with father-in-law's hoarding. People I'd known for decades started looking at me differently. Concerned glances. Whispered conversations that stopped when I walked by. Tony from the pizza shop approached me carefully. "Vinny, you doing okay? Heard you might be having some troubles." "What kind of troubles?" "Money troubles. Family troubles." "Who told you that?" "It's going around. Your daughter-in-law posted something about having to help with your finances." This was Derek and Stephanie's strategy. Make me the problem. Make themselves the heroes. Get the community on their side before I could tell my version. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd attacked my reputation in a neighborhood where reputation means everything. By Friday evening, Stephanie's Instagram following had grown to 15,000. Her elder care journey was going viral. Comments from people praising her courage in dealing with a difficult family situation. But she'd also caught the attention of people who actually knew me. Jimmy Wilson called. "Vinny, you see what they're posting about you?" "I see it. They're making you sound like you're losing your mind. Let them." "Vinny, this is serious. They're telling people you're incompetent with money. Saturday night, everyone will see how incompetent I am with money. You sure you want to wait? This is damaging your reputation now." "Jimmy, trust me. Saturday night will fix everything." But by Friday night, the damage was spreading. Captain Brown from the precinct called. "Vincent, I'm getting questions about your mental state. Someone's saying you might not be fit to handle city contracts." Now I was angry. Who's saying that? Anonymous concerns. But they're detailed. Accusations about hoarding cash, making poor financial decisions, family having to intervene. Derek and Stephanie weren't just stealing my money. They were trying to destroy my professional relationships. "Captain, have I ever missed a service deadline?" "Never." "Have I ever overcharged the department?" "You've undercharged us for years." Then ignore the anonymous concerns. "Vincent, I'm on your side. But if there's an official complaint about contractor competency, I have to investigate. They were trying to cost me my city contracts. Take my tools, take my cash, and now take my professional reputation." Saturday morning, Stephanie posted her masterpiece, a live video from their apartment. "Good morning, everyone. Derek and I wanted to give you an update on our family situation. It's been a difficult week, but we're doing what's necessary to protect someone we love." Derek appeared on camera. "My dad's a good man, but he's making dangerous financial decisions, living in denial about his situation." "We tried talking to him," Stephanie continued, "but he won't listen to reason, so we had to take protective action." "We secured his assets," Derek said. "Tools, cash, important documents. He's angry now, but someday he'll understand we saved him from financial ruin." The video showed their apartment. Clean, modern, expensive furniture visible in the background. "Some people are calling us greedy," Stephanie said, "but we're already successful. We don't need his money. We're protecting it for his own good." "Tonight he wants us to come to some dinner at his social club," Derek added, "probably to embarrass us in front of his friends, but we're going, because that's what family does." The live video had over 3,000 viewers, comments supporting them, criticizing me, praising their sacrifice in dealing with a difficult elderly parent. By noon Saturday, half the neighborhood believed Derek and Stephanie's version of events. The other half was getting ready for dinner at St. Anthony's Social Club. Mrs. Rodriguez stopped by the shop. "Vincent, you coming tonight?" "Wouldn't miss it." "Good. People need to hear your side." "They will." "Jimmy says you got something special planned." "Something like that." She looked around my empty shop. "You need those tools back." "I'll get them back." "How?" I smiled. "Mrs. Rodriguez, how long have you known me?" 15 years. "In 15 years, have I ever lost a fight that mattered?" She smiled back. "No, Vincent, you haven't." "Then don't worry about tonight." At 6 p.m., Derek called. "Dad, we saw the social media response. People understand our position." "Do they?" "We're still coming tonight. But don't expect us to apologize for protecting you." "I don't expect anything from you anymore." "Good, because we're not backing down." "Neither am I." 7 o'clock. I put on my only suit, navy blue, bought for Maria's funeral, polished my shoes, fixed my tie. Time to show 350 people exactly what Derek and Stephanie had stolen from. St. Anthony's Italian-American Social Club was packed. 350 members plus guests. The biggest annual dinner of the year. I arrived at 7:15. Derek and Stephanie were already there, working the room like politicians. Stephanie wore a black dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Derek had his confident smile, shaking hands, playing the concerned son. "Vincent!" Father Benedetti waved me over. "Good to see you, my friend." Good to see you, Father. Heard you've been having some family troubles. Word traveled fast in this neighborhood. Nothing I can't handle. That's what I figured. Your table's up front. Jimmy saved you a spot. The head table, where longtime members sat, where community leaders gathered, where business got discussed over dinner. I walked toward the front, passing tables full of people I'd known for decades. Some smiled and waved. Others looked concerned, whispering about the situation with my son. Derek and Stephanie watched me from across the room. They'd positioned themselves at a table near the back, close to the exit. Smart strategy if you're planning to leave quickly. Jimmy Wilson stood up when he saw me. "Vinny, there he is." Handshakes around the table. These weren't just friends. These were Brooklyn's power brokers. Captain Maria Brown from the police department, Tony Davis, city councilman, Frank Miller, president of the Construction Workers Union, Angela Thompson, who ran the biggest taxi company in the borough. "Vincent," Captain Brown said quietly, "I got some calls about you this week." I heard. "Want to tell me what's really going on?" "I will. During the speeches." Tony Davis leaned in. "Vinny, if you need help with anything, you just ask." "Thanks, Tony, but I think I've got it covered." The dinner began with antipasto and small talk. At the head table, conversation naturally turned to business. "Vincent," Angela Thompson said, "my drivers have been asking about you. Heard there might be changes to your operation." "What kind of changes?" "Family taking over, modernizing things." I glanced across the room at Derek and Stephanie. They were watching our table, trying to read the conversation. "No changes planned." "Good," Angela said. "We like how you run things. Reliable, fair prices, no nonsense." Jimmy Wilson raised his glass. "Speaking of reliable, everyone here should know Vincent just landed the biggest police maintenance contract in Brooklyn history." Captain Brown nodded. 5-year exclusive deal, worth more than $1 million. Conversations at nearby tables stopped. People were listening now. $1 million? Someone asked. $1.2 million, Captain Brown confirmed. "Vincent's operation will service every police vehicle in the borough." I saw Derek's face change across the room. He'd been following the conversation, reading lips maybe. Now he looked confused. Tony Davis stood up with his wine glass. "While we're sharing good news, everyone should know the city just approved Vincent's contract renewal for municipal fleet maintenance." More heads turned, more attention. "How much is that worth?" Father Benedetti asked. "Annually? About $800,000. The room was getting quieter. People at distant tables were straining to hear. Angela Thompson stood next. "And the taxi union voted unanimously. Anderson's Auto is now the exclusive service center for all union vehicles in Brooklyn." "What's that pay?" someone called out. "Million and change per year." Now the whole room was listening. Derek and Stephanie looked like they'd seen ghosts. Jimmy Wilson tapped his glass with a fork. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention." The room went silent. "Tonight we're honoring longtime members who've contributed to our community. But first, I want to address some rumors that have been floating around this week." My heart started beating faster. Someone's been spreading stories about one of our most respected members, saying he's incompetent with money, saying his family had to intervene to protect him from financial ruin. Derek started to stand up. Stephanie grabbed his arm, pulled him back down. "Well," Jimmy continued, "I think it's time everyone knew the truth about Vincent Anderson's financial situation." The room was dead silent now. "Vincent, would you mind sharing some numbers with the group?" I stood up slowly. Every eye in the room was on me. "First, let me introduce everyone to my son Derek and his wife Stephanie." I pointed to their table. "They're sitting in the back, the ones who look like they want to leave." Nervous laughter from the crowd. "This week, Derek and Stephanie broke into my shop at 3 a.m. and stole $113,000 worth of tools and cash." Gasps, murmurs, angry voices. "They said they were protecting me from financial ruin, said I was incompetent with money, said the family business was failing." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila folder. "I thought tonight would be a good time to show everyone exactly how incompetent I am with money." I opened the folder and pulled out my latest bank statement. Chase business account, current balance $2,100,000. The room erupted. People standing up, pointing at Derek and Stephanie's table. Shouts of disbelief. "That's right," I continued. $2.1 million, in cash, liquid assets." Derek and Stephanie were trying to leave, but people were blocking their path to the exit. "But wait, there's more." I pulled out another document. "City contracts currently active, total annual value $3,200,000. More shouting. Someone yelled, "They robbed a millionaire." "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice carrying over the noise, "my son Derek thought he was saving a failing mechanic from financial ruin. Turns out he robbed a businessman with more money and connections than he ever imagined." The crowd was on its feet now. Applause mixed with angry shouts directed at Derek and Stephanie. "Now," I said, "there's something else you should know." The room quieted again. I recorded the conversation where Derek and Stephanie admitted to taking my property. They called it securing family assets. The law calls it grand larceny. Captain Brown stood up. "Vincent, do you want to press charges?" Derek finally made it to his feet. "Dad, stop this." $113,000, Derek. That's a felony in New York State. We were protecting you. You were protecting yourselves from having to wait for your inheritance. Stephanie was crying now. Derek looked panicked. "Captain Brown," I said loudly, "I want to press charges for grand larceny, breaking and entering, and theft of business assets." Captain Brown nodded to someone near the door. 2 uniformed officers stepped into the room. Derek and Stephanie's nightmare was just beginning. "Derek Anderson and Stephanie Anderson," Captain Brown called out, "you need to come with us." The room watched in stunned silence as 2 police officers approached Derek and Stephanie's table. Derek stood up, hands shaking. Stephanie was still crying. "Dad, please," Derek called across the room. "We can work this out." "You had your chance to work it out. You chose theft instead." Officer Martinez, who I'd known for 10 years, read them their rights while 350 people watched. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Stephanie collapsed into her chair. "This isn't happening." "Ma'am, please stand up," Officer Martinez said gently but firmly. Derek tried one last appeal. "Dad, we're family." Family doesn't steal from family while they sleep. The handcuffs clicked shut on both of them. But I wasn't done. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, "before my son and daughter-in-law are taken away, I think they deserve to understand exactly what they stole from." Jimmy Wilson handed me a microphone. The room fell silent again. "Derek, Stephanie, you thought I was a failing mechanic hoarding cash. You were wrong on every count." I walked closer to their table, officers waiting patiently. "The Snap-on toolbox you stole? $31,000. But that toolbox serviced police cars that kept this neighborhood safe for 20 years. Murmurs of approval from the crowd. "The hydraulic lift you took? $18,000. But that lift raised every taxi in Angela Thompson's fleet, kept cabs running, kept drivers working." Angela nodded grimly from the head table. "The cash you invested properly? $31,000. But that cash bought emergency parts for Captain Brown's patrol cars. No delay, no bureaucracy, just service." Captain Brown stood up. "Vincent's right. His shop kept our fleet running when nobody else could get parts quickly enough." "But here's what you really didn't understand," I continued. "You didn't just steal tools and cash. You stole 40 years of reputation." The room was hanging on every word. When Mrs. Rodriguez's Honda wouldn't start at 2 a.m. and she had to get to the hospital to see her dying mother, who did she call? "Vincent," someone shouted. "When Tony's delivery van broke down during the Christmas rush and his business was about to lose $10,000 in orders, who fixed it in 4 hours?" "Vincent!" More voices. "When Captain Brown's squad car was shot up in a pursuit, and the department needed it back on the road immediately, who worked all night to get it running?" The whole room. "Vincent!" Derek was sobbing now. Stephanie looked like she wanted to disappear. "You see," I said, "you thought you were stealing from a poor old man, but you actually stole from every person in this room. Because when their cars break down, where do they go?" "Anderson's Auto," the room shouted in unison. "And now, thanks to your theft, Anderson's Auto was closed for 3 days. Mrs. Rodriguez had to take her car to Manhattan. Cost her twice as much. Tony's van sat broken for a week. Captain Brown had to use an outside contractor who charged double." The crowd was getting angry. People were shouting at Derek and Stephanie. "Thieves! How could you do that to your father? Ungrateful!" Jimmy Wilson took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, there's more you need to know about the Anderson family situation." Derek looked terrified. What more could there be? "Stephanie Anderson has been posting on social media all week, telling people Vincent was incompetent, saying the family had to intervene for his own good." Jimmy held up his phone, showing Stephanie's Instagram. "She called him mentally unstable, said he was hoarding money dangerously, told 12,000 followers that Vincent Anderson couldn't handle his own finances. The crowd was furious now. People were standing up, shouting. She tried to destroy his reputation, made him look crazy, while she was robbing him. Stephanie tried to speak. You thought what? Angela Thompson interrupted, standing up. That you could steal from a man who's been taking care of this community for 40 years? Tony Davis joined in. Vincent Anderson has been fixing our cars, employing our kids, and paying his taxes without complaint since before you were born. Captain Brown stepped forward. And you tried to make us think he was incompetent to handle city contracts, while he was sitting on $2 million and running the most successful auto shop in Brooklyn? Father Benedetti spoke up from the back. In 40 years, Vincent never missed a Sunday donation, never failed to help a family in need, never turned away someone who couldn't afford repairs. The testimonials kept coming. He fixed my daughter's car for free when she was unemployed. He stayed open all night when my taxi got hit by a drunk driver. He hired my nephew when nobody else would give him a chance. Derek and Stephanie were hearing, for the first time, who their father really was in this community. Not a failing mechanic, a pillar, not a financial incompetent, a millionaire who chose to live simply, not someone who needed saving, someone who'd been saving others for decades. I took the microphone back. Derek, Stephanie, you want to know the real difference between us? They looked at me through their tears. You measure success by what you show off. I measure it by what I build. I pulled out another document. This is my will, updated yesterday. Derek's face went white. Everything I own, the business, the building, the contracts, the $2.1 million in assets, was going to be left to Derek and his family. Was. Past tense. But after this week, I've made some changes. I held up the new will. 50% goes to Jimmy Wilson and Union Local 371 to establish a scholarship fund for mechanics' children. Applause from the crowd. 25% goes to Captain Brown's Police Benevolent Fund. More applause. 20% goes to St. Anthony's Social Club for community programs. The room was cheering now. And 5% goes to a legal defense fund for elderly people whose families try to steal from them. Standing ovation. Derek gets nothing. Stephanie gets nothing. Their children, if they have any, get nothing. Derek collapsed into his chair. Dad, please. I gave you everything. Love, opportunity, trust. You chose to repay that with theft and betrayal. Officer Martinez stepped forward. Sir, we need to take them now. Wait, Stephanie said. The tools, the money, we can give it all back. You'll give it back anyway, Captain Brown said. It's called restitution, part of your sentence. But if we give it back now it's evidence in a felony case, I said. Derek tried one last time. Dad, we made a mistake. I looked at my son, really looked at him. Derek, the mistake wasn't stealing from me. The mistake was thinking you knew who I was. The officers led them away. Derek looked back once, desperately. Dad! I turned my back. The room erupted in cheers. People were hugging me, shaking my hand, patting my back, but honestly, I felt empty. I'd won, completely, publicly, decisively, but I'd also lost my son. Jimmy Wilson put his arm around my shoulders. Vinny, you did the right thing. Maybe, but right doesn't always feel good. The evening ended with toasts and promises of support. Everyone wanted to help me rebuild the shop, get new tools, get back to business. But as I drove home in my beat-up Ford pickup, past the flashing lights of the police cars taking my son to jail, I wondered if winning was worth what it cost. Then I thought about the neighborhood kids who'd benefit from the scholarship fund, the police officers who'd be safer because of the benevolent fund, the community programs that would help families like Derek and Stephanie should have been. Maybe this was what justice looked like. Not revenge, not punishment, but making sure good came from bad. Making sure the community was protected from people who take advantage of trust. Making sure 40 years of building something worthwhile wasn't destroyed by two people who confused selfishness with love. I parked behind my empty shop and looked up at the apartment where I'd lived for 20 years. Tomorrow I'd start over. New tools, new routines. But tonight I was a millionaire mechanic who taught his son the most expensive lesson of both their lives. The arrests made the local news by Sunday morning. Brooklyn mechanic's son charged with grand larceny after stealing $113K in tools and cash from father's auto shop. But the real story was in the details that emerged over the next few weeks. Derek and Stephanie were each held on $25,000 bail. Neither could make it. Derek's marketing agency had a strict policy about employees arrested for felonies. Immediate suspension pending investigation. No salary. no benefits. Stephanie's Instagram influencer career collapsed overnight. Her follower count dropped from 15,000 to 3,000 in 48 hours. Screenshots of her posts about me went viral, but not in a good way. Woman accuses father-in-law of financial incompetence while robbing his millions. Influencer's elder care journey was actually covering up theft. Social media user exposed as thief who mocked victim online. Her brand partnerships evaporated. The lifestyle companies that paid her for posts wanted nothing to do with someone associated with elder abuse. By Wednesday, they'd hired a lawyer. Public defender couldn't handle a felony case this size. They needed real representation. $15,000 retainer. Money they didn't have. Derek called me from jail Thursday night. Dad, the lawyer says we're looking at 3 to 5 years. I didn't respond immediately. Dad, are you there? I'm here. We need to talk. About a plea deal. About making this right.
It's too late for that, Derek. It's not too late. The DA says if you drop the charges, I'm not dropping the charges. Dad, please, think about the family. I am thinking about the family. The community family that trusted you. The extended family you betrayed when you stole from their mechanic. We didn't steal from them. Derek, every person who couldn't get their car fixed because you closed my shop, you stole from them. Every emergency repair that got delayed because my tools were gone, you stole from them. Long pause. We can pay restitution. With what money? Another pause. We'll figure it out. You'll figure it out in prison. Friday morning, Mrs. Rodriguez stopped by the shop. I was still working with borrowed tools, waiting for the insurance and legal process to resolve. Vincent, how are you holding up? I'm fine, Mrs. Rodriguez. You don't look fine. She was right. I wasn't sleeping well. Wasn't eating much.
Kept thinking about Derek as a little boy, helping me organize tools, asking questions about how engines worked. It's hard, I admitted. Of course it's hard. He's your son. He's also a thief. He's both. That's what makes it hard. The community response had been overwhelming. Jimmy Wilson organized a tool drive. Mechanics from all over Brooklyn donated equipment to get me back up and running. The taxi union advanced me $50,000 against future work. Captain Brown expedited my insurance claims. Within a week, I had better tools than Derek and Stephanie had stolen. But the money wasn't the point anymore. Sunday afternoon, I got an unexpected visitor. Stephanie's mother, Carol. Vincent, I need to talk to you. I led her into the shop. She looked like she'd been crying for days. I want to apologize for my daughter. You don't need to apologize for her choices. I raised her better than this. I don't understand what happened. I offered her coffee. We sat in my small office.
Carol, can I ask you something? Of course. Did Stephanie ever struggle with money growing up? No. We weren't rich, but she never wanted for anything. Then why did she think stealing was acceptable? Carol shook her head. I've been asking myself the same question. I think she got caught up in the social media thing, the lifestyle, keeping up appearances. That's not an excuse for theft. No, it's not. Vincent, I know you won't drop the charges. I wouldn't ask you to, but I need you to know this isn't who we raised her to be. I know that, Carol. Derek influenced her. The entitlement, the assumption that family money was their money. Derek learned that somewhere, too. From his mother's side of the family, probably. Maria's brothers always had that attitude about inheritance. That was news to me. Maria had never mentioned her brothers expecting anything.
Anyway, Carol continued, I wanted you to know that if they go to prison, we'll be here when they get out, to help them make better choices. That's good, Carol. And Vincent, the scholarship fund you're setting up with the union, I'd like to contribute. Not much, but something. You don't have to do that. I want to. Maybe some good can come from this mess. Tuesday morning, the plea hearing was scheduled. Derek and Stephanie pled guilty to grand larceny in the 3rd degree and criminal trespass, reduced charges in exchange for full restitution and 2 years in state prison. I testified about the impact of their crimes, not just the money, but the community disruption, the broken trust, the attempt to destroy my reputation while robbing me. The judge was not sympathetic. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, you didn't just steal from your father. You stole from everyone who depends on his services. You disrupted an essential community business. And you attempted to cover your crimes by attacking your victim's mental competence. 2 years in prison, 5 years probation, full restitution of $113,000 plus court costs and interest, and a restraining order. They couldn't contact me or come within 500 feet of my shop. Derek cried during sentencing. Stephanie just stared at her hands. I watched them being led away and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sadness. Just empty. Justice served. Community protected. Lesson taught. But family destroyed. Was it worth it? 6 months later, Anderson's auto was busier than ever. The story had spread beyond Bensonhurst. People drove from Manhattan to get their cars fixed by the millionaire mechanic who sent his son to prison for stealing from him. Some came out of curiosity. Most came back because the work was good and the prices were fair. Jimmy Wilson stopped by on a Tuesday morning. "Vinny, you look good." "I feel good."
Business is booming. Can't complain. Any word from Derek? I shook my head. Prison calls. I don't answer. Jimmy nodded. Probably for the best. Probably. You ever regret it? Pressing charges? I thought about that question every day. Jimmy, Derek made a choice. He chose to steal from me instead of talking to me. He chose to humiliate me publicly instead of respecting me privately. He chose to see me as an obstacle instead of as his father. So no regrets? I regret that I raised a son who thought theft was acceptable. I regret that I didn't see his entitlement earlier. I regret that his wife thought she could destroy my reputation to cover their crimes. But pressing charges? No regrets about that. The community needed to see that actions have consequences, even family actions. The scholarship fund was up to $50,000. First recipient would be announced in the spring. A young woman whose father was killed in a work accident, who wanted to study automotive engineering. Captain Brown had used the Police Benevolent Fund donation to help 3 officers' families with medical bills. St. Anthony's Social Club was planning a new community center with the money I'd donated. Good was coming from bad. Maybe that was enough. Carol visited every few weeks. Updates about Stephanie in prison, letters she was writing but not sending, promises about making amends when she got out. Vincent, she asks about you. What does she ask? Whether you're okay, whether the business recovered, whether you hate her. What do you tell her? That you're fine, that you're strong, that hate isn't who you are. She was right about that. I didn't hate Derek and Stephanie. I pitied them. They'd traded a relationship with a man who would have given them everything for the temporary possession of things that could be replaced. They'd chosen greed over love, status over family, instant gratification over patient inheritance. I'd taught them that choices have consequences, the most expensive lesson any of us ever learned. If you're watching this story and you're dealing with family members who don't respect your boundaries, remember, love without respect isn't love at all. It's manipulation, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be manipulated. Subscribe if this story resonated with you. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and whether you've ever had to choose between family and self-respect. Because sometimes protecting yourself is protecting everyone else from finding out how far they'll go if you let them.